Did you know in 2015, Oklahoma experienced over 900 tremors or small earthquakes related to hydraulic fracking? Here's only one picture of some of the damage that has been done there. Today, I will be recapping my last speech. I will acknowledge the problems of hydraulic fracking as well as some possible solutions. Although many people think hydraulic fracking is a cheaper, more convenient energy source, alternative energy is better in the long run because 1, it's better for the environment, 2, it's better for the public health, 3, is more cost effective, and 4, it won't run out. For my first point, I'm going to recap some of the important information in my last speech. Just in case you didn't remember, hydraulic fracking is a process in which companies drill deep into the ground and force water, sand, and a mixture of chemicals at high pressures to extract natural gas and oil from tiny cracks underneath the Earth's surface. There are many positive and negative effects of hydraulic fracking. One important benefit is the number of jobs fracking supports. Christina Nunes says in her article, "Today the industry supports 1.7 million jobs, and that number is expected to increase to 3 million by 2020. Fracking also brings lots of money to both federal and state governments." Nunes also states, in 2012, this revolution added $62 billion to federal and state government revenues, and that number is projected to rise to about $113 billion by 2020. This is a lot of money that could help benefit our country. I will discuss the negative impacts further along in my speech. Some possible alternative energy solutions that I discussed in my last speech were solar power, wind power, and hydroelectric power. But today I will be talking to you about geothermal energy instead of hydroelectric power. My second point is the problems of hydraulic fracking. Although hydraulic fracking has a multitude of positive effects, the number of negative effects outweighs the positive by far. Emissions of natural gas have a negative effect on the environment. It also affects the public health of millions of citizens. Many factory workers are at higher risk because they are exposed to sand silica inhalation, exposure to chemical spills, and exposure to chemicals in the flowback process. These exposures could relates to many negative health problems. Many civilians are affected as well. Local communities around these fracking sites have poor water quality. Wiebe states in his article that this April yet another major study published in the Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences confirmed that high-volume hydroelectric fracking techniques can contaminate drinking water. There have been numerous reports by citizens across the country of fouled tap water. It is a fact that some of the tap water has even become bubbly and flammable as a result of the increase in methane. There are also many correlations between communities living near fracking sites and an increase in negative health effects. Hemming states in his article that associations between proximity to O and NG sites and health effects including congenital heart disease, childhood leukemia, asthma, low birth weight, and prenatal birth have been recorded. Another effect is earthquakes. In Wiebe's article, he quotes the 2014 Annual Review of Environment and Resource paper, which notes that in between 1967 and 2000, geologists recorded a background rate of 21 earthquakes per year. In 2001, when fracking became more popular, This rate rose steadily to 100 such earthquakes annually, with 188 in 2011 alone. The effects of hydraulic fracking negatively impact so many people. It is time for a permanent solution, which brings me to my third and final point. Switching to alternative energy sources such as solar, wind, or geothermal power is the solution to the negative impacts hydraulic fracking causes. The most popular alternative energy source is solar power. Solar power is becoming more popular among many businesses. Kevin Bugo states 39% of businesses are installing hydroelectric generations such as solar panels, and that the desire to increase the use of renewables, particularly solar, continues to trend upwards. The cost of building these panels has also gone down as well. Matt Mossman states installations have plunged 88%. Wind power is also another great alternative. Its energy production is both mature and competitive. The pollution-free technology is used in many parts of the world. It is especially used in Denmark, which is the leading consumer of wind power. It is a big business for Denmark and brings in lots of money. It could also be a big business for the United States as well. Finally, geothermal energy is another source of renewable energy. It takes water from deep within the earth and heats it up, turns it into steam, and then that steam turns turbines, which is generated into power. And then that water is cooled and goes back down into the Earth's surface. Here is a photograph of the process. As you can see, oh my gosh, sorry about that. As you can see, the water goes up into this little thing, it's being turned into steam, and then it goes right here and turns turbines, and then that energy is stored right here, and then the water goes to these cooling factories, and then once it's cooled, it goes back into the ground. Whether it's solar, wind, or geothermal energy, these sources are good for the environment and the welfare of humanity now and in the future. Many policies are being introduced by several countries to help lower emissions of natural gas in order to reduce the amount of fossil fuels produced. France proposed the Paris Agreement, which will strengthen global response to the threat of climate change by keeping the global temperature under 2 degrees Celsius. The new Green Deal proposal calls on federal government to wean the United States from fossil fuels and curb planet-warming greenhouse gas emissions across the country. In conclusion, many people believe that hydraulic fracking is a more convenient source, but fracking causes many negative effects that I have listed above. Renewable energy sources such as wind, solar, or geothermal power are better in the long run because they are safer for the environment, the public health, is more cost effective, and will not run out. Today I have recapped my last informative speech. I have acknowledged the problem of hydraulic fracking as well as some possible solutions. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, oil production has slowed down drastically. Malene Stone states in her article that in China, carbon emissions were down an estimated 18% between early February and mid-March due to falls in coal consumption and industrial output. That slowdown caused the oil's largest emitter to avoid some 250 million metric tons of carbon pollution, more than half the annual carbon emissions of the United Kingdom. That's a huge decrease in the carbon pollution. Thank you.